Quiznos, Hooters, Long John Silver's. Remember when these restaurants were some of the biggest brands in America? Some of these chains had thousands of locations. Today, most of them are barely holding on. So in this video, I'll be visiting 5 of America's forgotten fast food chains to answer the questions: is the food still good? Why did it disappear? And do they deserve to make a comeback? Let's find out. Most of you probably remember when Quiznos was everywhere.
We love these songs!
Then all of a sudden, it was just gone. But what makes it so crazy is that people didn't stop eating there because the sandwiches were bad. In fact, most people would probably tell you that Quiznos actually made a better sandwich than Subway. So how does a company go from almost 5,000 locations to barely surviving today? It turns out, the problem wasn't really the food. It was the business. Quiznos grew insanely fast in the early 2000s. They were opening restaurants all over the country and looked like they were on track to become Subway's biggest competitor. But behind the scenes, franchise owners were starting to struggle. Unlike most franchises, Quiznos required owners to buy almost everything from meat and bread to napkins and cups through suppliers chosen by the company. Franchisees argued those prices were inflated, squeezing their profit margins. Multiple lawsuits followed, accusing Quiznos of unfair business practices. On top of that, Quiznos expanded so aggressively that in some cities, new stores were opening just a few miles away from existing ones. Instead of bringing in new customers, they were taking customers away from other Quiznos locations. So now owners were paying high supply costs while competing against other Quiznos down the street. That's a recipe for disaster. Then things got even worse. The 2008 recession hit. Customers started looking for cheaper lunches. Subway was running its famous $5 footlong promotion. And Quiznos just couldn't compete on price because their sandwiches cost more to make. At the same time, Subway began toasting sandwiches too, which erased one of Quiznos' biggest competitive advantages. Eventually, thousands of stores closed. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2014, and today, only a tiny fraction of those original locations remain. Which brings us back to the real question. Was the food actually the problem? Okay, the sandwich has been acquired, and I don't know about you, but that looks pretty good. I got the regular chicken carbonara, and it was $11. Let's give it a try. Okay, that is delicious. The bread is toasted perfectly and has a really nice crunch on the shell. But the inside is still soft and pillowy, and the bread has a lot of body, unlike other sandwich places where it can feel like you're eating just air. The chicken is nice, tender, and juicy, and the carbonara has such a rich flavor, and it's really flavorful. That's a really good sandwich. Now, I'm trying all these forgotten fast food chains with a main question in mind. Do they deserve to make a comeback? And after trying this sandwich, I'd say yes. The sandwich is actually better than what's offered by most sandwich chains, and the price is on par with what you'd pay for a sandwich in today's market. So I think we should give Quiznos another shot. Now let's head over to forgotten restaurant number 2. Believe it or not, there was a time when Long John Silver's was one of the biggest fast food chains in America. At its peak, it had over 1,400 restaurants across the country. Today, there are fewer than 500 left. So what happened? Did the food suddenly get worse? Or did America simply stop wanting fast food seafood? I made my way inside, and it did not look at all like I was expecting. So this Long John Silver's location is actually a Long John Silver's and a Taco Bell in one, which probably shows how little people are going to Long John Silver's nowadays. And the inside, it just looks like Taco Bell. I don't know anyone my age that says, let's go grab Long John Silver's, but older generations, they absolutely love this place. What's interesting is Long John Silver's wasn't really killed by one mistake. It was more like death by 1,000 cuts. First, seafood is just a hard business. Chicken and beef are relatively cheap and easy to source. Fish is more expensive, prices fluctuate more, and profit margins are generally tighter. So right away, Long John Silver's was playing a harder game than burger chains. Then consumer tastes started to change. In the 1980s, fried seafood felt unique. Today, almost every fast food restaurant has a fish sandwich. McDonald's has the Filet-O-Fish, Culver's has fish dinners, and Popeyes, another chicken chain, started dominated fried comfort foods. Suddenly, Long John Silver's wasn't the only place to get fried seafood anymore. But there was another problem. The company spent years carrying heavy debt after a leveraged buyout in 1989. Instead of investing in new restaurants, remodeling stores, or reinventing the menu, a lot of its resources went towards paying off debt. That made it harder to keep up, while competitors kept evolving. You'd think it couldn't get any worse than that. But you'd be wrong. In 2013, the Center for Science in the Public Interest published an article calling the Big Catch meal by Long John Silver's the worst meal in America because it was too unhealthy. And despite taking it off the menu, that label kind of stuck around. Okay, my food has arrived, and honestly, it doesn't look bad at all. Got the 2-fish combo, which comes with waffle fries, and I added the hush puppies. And the whole thing was about $17 after tax with a drink, starting with the fish. That's actually surprisingly crispy. The batter is well seasoned, the fish is flaky, it's definitely better than I expected. Now let's try the fries. Also very crispy, nicely salted, not bad at all. Lastly, the hush puppies. Those are actually really good. The outside is really crunchy, and the inside is super soft, and it's really well seasoned. With that being said, do I think Long John Silver's deserves to make a comeback? Honestly, I'll say yes. I enjoyed the food a lot more than I was expecting. It's a pretty tasty meal, and the price is good for fish. I think there's a place for it in today's fast food world. Now let's head over to forgotten fast food chain number 3. I'm at Baker Square. This might be the restaurant that I'm most excited to revisit today. Because unlike Quiznos or Long John Silver's, Baker Square wasn't just somewhere you grab lunch. It was where people celebrated birthdays, went after Little League games, had Sunday breakfast with their grandparents. If you grew up in the Midwest, there's a pretty good chance you've had one of their pies. So how does a place that was such a huge part of so many people's childhoods almost disappear? Looking at this building, it feels like stepping back 20 years. And honestly, restaurants like this barely exist anymore. The first thing I noticed is how different this feels from modern fast casual restaurants. Nobody's rushing you out. Nobody's ordering from a kiosk. It's just a classic American family restaurant. What's interesting is Baker Square actually wasn't famous for breakfast or burgers or sandwiches. They were famous for pie. People would literally stop here just to take a whole pie. So if people loved the pie, what happened? The answer is Baker Square didn't really lose to one restaurant. It lost to an entirely different way of eating. Think about how people eat today. If you want breakfast, you're probably grabbing Starbucks or Dunkin' or maybe McDonald's or Taco Bell. If you want lunch, you're going to Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Sweet Greens, or Cava. Even grocery stores have really good prepared food now. 25 years ago, family restaurants filled like that. Today, they kind of don't. Then there was the business side. Baker Square changed owners multiple times over the years, and its parent companies went through bankruptcy in both 2008 and then again in 2020. Each restructuring led to dozens of restaurant closures, leaving only a handful of locations operating today. Alright, enough history. Let's see if this food actually deserves the nostalgia. I went with a savory pot roast. It comes with a cornbread muffin and a choice of sour, and I chose the fresh fruit. Oh wow, that is so much better than I was expecting. The pot roast is so tender, as is the potatoes and the carrots. The gravy is so rich and flavorful. First thing you'll notice is it's warm and nice and soft. Over moist, a little sweet, really good. But let's be honest, this is what everyone came here for. No matter how good the food is, if the pie doesn't deliver, it almost doesn't matter. This is their French silk pie, and it's their most popular flavor. It's about $6 a slice. Here we go. That is so good. It's creamy, it's chocolatey. There's also little like shavings of chocolate on top, and the white cream on top contrasts with the chocolate pie so well. And then the crust is nice and crumbly. It is a chocolate mellows pie. You have to really like chocolate to like this, but I love chocolate. It's really rich, and it is a bit sweet because again, it's chocolate, but I think it's great like that. Do I think Baker Square deserves to make a comeback? Yes, I do. The next restaurant might have the most recognizable name on this list because at one point, it wasn't just a restaurant, it was a cultural phenomenon. The Y has one of the most famous restaurant brands in America and closes most locations. There might not be another restaurant on this list that's more recognizable than Hooters. Even if you've never eaten here, you know exactly what Hooters is. They had over 400 restaurants, calendars, a NASCAR sponsorship, even an airline. So how does a brand that famous end up filing for bankruptcy? That's what I wanted to find out. What's funny is, Hooters has always been known for one thing, but ask almost anyone what they think about the food, and you'll get completely different answers. Some people swear the wings are underrated. Others will tell you nobody ever came here for the food. So today, we're putting that to the test. Honestly, this feels more like a sports bar than people remember. If someone blindfolded you, you probably wouldn't guess that you were inside a restaurant that's been talked about for 40 years. Wings are obviously the signature item, but here's something interesting. Hooters actually helped make chicken wings a mainstream restaurant item long before every sports bar in America had them. Back then, wings weren't nearly as competitive as they are today. Now, you've got Buffalo Wild Wings, Wingstop, and hundreds of local wing spots. The competition today is on a completely different level. So, if Hooters became one of the most famous restaurant brands in America, what happened? Honestly, it wasn't just one thing. The first problem was that the thing that made Hooters famous slowly became less important. Back in the 80s and 90s, there really wasn't another national restaurant built around this kind of concept. It stood out, it got people talking, it became part of pop culture. But over time, that novelty started to wear off. Consumer expectations changed, and the brand's image became more polarizing than it once was. Then came the food competition. Think about wings today. If you're craving wings, you've got dozens of options. Even pizza places make really good wings now. Hooters wasn't just competing against sports bars anymore. It was competing against literally everyone. But the biggest problem wasn't actually the menu. It was the business itself. Like a lot of legacy restaurant chains, Hooters took on a lot of debt. They faced rising food and labor costs and struggled to invest enough in remodeling restaurants and updating the brand. Those pressures eventually contributed to bankruptcy filing in 2025, and they plan to sell the company-owned stores to experienced franchise operators. And honestly, I don't think this is just a Hooters problem. Look around. Red Lobster, TGI Fridays, Applebee's, even Chili's had to reinvent itself. Casual dining as a whole has been under pressure because people eat differently now. Delivery, fast casual, drive-thrus, those are winning. Okay, enough yapping about business. Let's answer the question everyone actually cares about. Is the food still worth coming here? I got an 8-piece of wings, hot, but I wanted to try other food, so I got their Philly cheesesteak. Let's start with the wings. These were about $14 for 8. They aren't the biggest wings, but let's see how they taste. Okay, actually, it's a lot better than I was expecting. The wings are crispy, but they're still juicy on the inside. And they are pretty saucy. And the flavoring of the sauce is really good. Not too acidic, it's a good hot sauce. Would I put these above some of Chicago's best wing places? Probably not. But they're definitely better than the internet gives them credit for. Now let's try the Philly cheesesteak. It has onions, peppers, mushrooms, and provolone cheese. And it was about $13. The cheesesteak's actually pretty decent. The bread is flaky on the outside, nice and soft on the inside, and the steak is tender, juicy, and seasoned really well. Now, it's not the best cheesesteak I've ever had, but for a place that doesn't specialize in cheesesteak, it's pretty good. You know what I find interesting? Hooters might actually be a victim of being too famous. For decades, everyone talked about the uniforms. Nobody talked about the wings. And somewhere along the way, the food almost became secondary to the brand itself. With all that said, do I think Hooters deserves to make a comeback? Unfortunately, no. The food is pretty decent, but there's just a lot of better options out there. We've visited 4 forgotten chains, but there's still one left. And this one might be the most surprising of them all. I'm about to head to our last forgotten fast food chain, Così. And out of every restaurant on this list, this might be the one that people have forgotten the most. If I ask 10 people under the age of 30 what Così is, I honestly don't think most of them could tell me. Which is kind of crazy, because Così helped pioneer something that's become one of the biggest trends in restaurants today. Fresh ingredients, artisan breads, open kitchens, premium sandwiches. Sound familiar? If they were doing all of that 20 years ago, why did they almost disappear? Looking at this place, it honestly doesn't look outdated. If you covered up the logo, I'd probably assume it was a brand new fast casual restaurant. And this is exactly what surprises me. This actually feels modern. You can literally watch them making your food. Fresh bread is baking right in front of you. This doesn't feel like a forgotten restaurant. Looking at the menu, flatbreads, salads, grade bowls, soups, sandwiches. Honestly, if Panera Bread and Sweet Green had a baby, this would kind of be it. So if the concept still feels modern, what happened? The crazy part is, Così didn't disappear because people hated the food. It disappeared because the business never quite figured out how to make money consistently. Think about when Così started becoming popular. Back then, most fast food meant burgers, fries, and pizza. Così was trying to sell artisan flatbread sandwiches made with fresh ingredients. That's incredibly normal today. But 20 years ago, it was actually pretty innovative. Like a lot of restaurant chains in the early 2000s, Così expanded quickly. They went public. They opened restaurants all over the country. Investors loved the idea. But there was one problem. The company never consistently made money. In fact, it reported operating losses for years, even when it was expanded. Then everything changed. Panera kept getting bigger, Chipotle exploded, fast casual became one of the hottest categories in restaurants. Suddenly, everyone was doing fresh ingredients, artisan bread, customizable meals. The category that Così helped introduce became crowded with competitors that executed at a much larger scale. Then by 2016, Così filed for bankruptcy. It emerged after restructuring, but only a few years later, it filed for bankruptcy again. The company eventually shifted most of its efforts to catering because its restaurant model just wasn't working anymore. Alright, enough talking. Let's find out if Così deserved a better ending. I got their new miso chili chicken sandwich on multigrain bread, and it was $12.99. Miso chili chicken, sriracha mayo, cabbage, carrots, and crispy wonton chips. Let's give it a try. Okay, that's actually pretty good. They asked me if I wanted the sandwich hot or cold, and I chose hot, so they kind of toasted the bread. And it has a bit of a crunch on the outside, but the inside is still really nice and soft. Then there's more of a crunch from the cabbage and the carrots and the wonton chips. And the flavoring in the sandwich is delicious. It's really savory. And the best part is, the bread tastes really fresh. It honestly doesn't taste like something from a forgotten chain. It tastes like something I'd expect from a newer fast casual restaurant. I think Così was just too early. They built a concept that America eventually embraced, but they couldn't survive long enough to benefit from it. Sometimes, being first isn't enough. You also have to survive long enough until everyone else catches up.
Do I think Così deserves to make a comeback? Yes.
Which forgotten fast food chain should I investigate next? Because after this video, I have a feeling there's still a lot of hidden gems hiding in plain sight.